It's time and we don't have much. So, welcome to Bulletproof Your Business. Today, we're going to talk about decision making. And really, there's two kinds of decision making that we all have to focus on. One is the heart, and the other is the head. Sometimes we make decisions with our heart. We don't think about that until later. I have heard this phrase. This one may be one you guys want to write down. The mind justifies what the heart has chosen. What do you think about that? What do you think about heart level decisions? The research seems to say that we do make all our decisions from a module of the mind that is gaining center stage, and then our logic brain starts talking about why that's a good idea. And this is the phenomena if you buy a blue Honda, in the next week or so, you're going to see tons of blue Hondas, and you're going to be like, hey, man, yeah, awesome. Good job over there. Or your Ford F-150 or whatever your brand is, you start to think of it as being part of the tribe. And I think it's because when we make a decision with our heart, our head starts saying, are you sure? Was that right? And so, as people who need to make decisions every day, I want to give you guys some tips and some help into to how to make those decisions. First of all, why are people so nervous about decisions? Now, you may not think that you're nervous. Sometimes you may get in a situation where you are nervous. You know it's a really big decision. But let's go maybe the other direction. Do you find yourself not acting? Okay, just in any way. Think about your New Year's resolutions, think about whatever. Do you feel stuck very often? I don't mean that you're not busy, but do you feel like you're on the treadmill or like you're a little bit in the mud? If you do, it's likely because of procrastination. So again, this is not conscious. You're not maybe consciously thinking, I'm not going to take action on this. But what's happening is you are making a decision for inaction by not becoming what I would say kind of conscious or awake. Think of it like this. It's like when you're kind of half asleep and you're not really totally aware of your circumstances or your surroundings, right? You're kind of there, but you're not there. A lot of people work there, and it's not your fault, and it's not about being lazy, and it's not about having a condition or any of those sorts of things. It is about the way our culture and our media has rewired our brain. Okay, think of all the crazy things in the last 4 or 5 years that people have started to call normal that are just totally ridiculous. You think, gosh, how are people just crazy? What's going on out there? People are not crazy. People are trained. I think that's one of the biggest and most important themes in Founders Fire is it's not about trying. It is about training. If you will do 100 push-ups every week, in 3 months, your arms, your chest, your back will look different. It doesn't matter what you believe. It matters what you do. Now, of course, it matters what you believe, but it only matters if you act on it. You guys know the verse, and somebody can throw it on the chat because I always forget these references, but it's in James, I think, about faith without works is dead. Even the demons say, I believe and shudder. So, but where's the righteousness? The righteousness comes in the action. So when we are in this place of inaction, okay, what do they say? Evil prevails when good men do nothing, when we don't take action. Okay, that happens because we've been trained. Our brains have literally been rewired by the way our media, our phones, the television, the way it is presenting information in what I used to call McThinking, McBites, little moments, little tweets, little instances, little eruptions, little sneezes of information. Okay, you can say, what's the big deal? I don't have time to read Tolstoy. Some of you are like, who's Tolstoy? Right? I don't have time to dig into something that's hundreds of pages long. Man, give it to me quick. Okay, that is okay. But you've got to recognize that being on a steady diet of McThinking makes you mentally fat. It makes you lethargic. It makes you slow. Why? Because it's kind of like you're sitting at the end of the information conveyor belt with your mouth open, and it's just dropping more stuff into your what happens to you? You get fat. You get sedentary. Instead of having to go out and hunt for things and work those muscle groups, You're sitting there, and part of what is atrophying is your ability to be decisive. You don't have to decide because it's all handed to you by the algorithm. The algorithm just hands it to you. You don't even have to think about it. You just like it, don't like it, like it, don't like it, like it, don't like it. The news, again, I've said this so many times, you guys are probably sick of hearing about it. Go and watch the news from the 1980s. There's no crawler at the bottom. There's no music. There's no swirling this and that. It's not a movie production. You see, everything does not have to be packaged up in a McWrapper for McThinkers who do nothing. And if you are involved in that a lot, here's a great New Year's resolution. Turn it off. Okay, it's not about the content. In the book by, I think his name is Postman, called Amusing Ourselves to Death, he uses this incredibly powerful phrase that the medium is the message. Okay, you think, oh, I went on to X and I saw this message and it said, eating broccoli is good for you. It's all about broccoli is good for you. It's not all about that because the way that message is given to you, the way it's packaged, the way it's delivered, all of those sorts of things, that becomes the message itself. And ultimately, if you're not aware of how the media is affecting the wiring, literally, the neuroplasticity of your brain, you are getting hoodwinked. But you're like, but I'm looking at good stuff all the time. It's all good. It's all good. The content is good. Okay, that's fantastic. However, the method by which you are getting it is likely very destructive. And one of the ways we see it destroy things in our life is our ability to act. I work with clients all over the world, and I've worked with big companies and little companies and solopreneurs and everything in between. One of the things that differentiates people who succeed from people who don't is people who can take decisive action and keep the momentum going. Okay, it's one thing to go, I got all fired up when I heard this message or this idea, and I went out and did something. What about tomorrow? What about the next day? Let me ask you this. If you had to run a marathon a year from now, and you are going to train one time a month, do you think you'd be ready? No, we all know that. It's common sense. Of course you wouldn't be ready. What about one time a month? What about one time a week? Okay, what about once a day? Who would be more prepared in a year? It's not the person who knows more about marathons or the person who knows more about shoes or they know more about run, stride, and all the technique. No, no, no. It's the person who actually does it. What is the best way to defeat an enemy? It's to defeat their decision making. So if we're in a spiritual battle for the minds of humanity, for the way we live, for the way we think, the freedom that we all want, where's the enemy going to attack? They're going to attack at that decision-making level. If you feel stuck, turn off the media. I guarantee you, stopping the diet of McThinking is going to help you make better decisions because it's going to let you get the muscle strength back of paying attention longer. This is what Einstein said. He said, it's not that I'm smarter than everyone else. It's that I stay with problems longer. We don't stay with anything longer. In fact, longer is bad. Give it to me quick. I want it to be short. I need the McThinking. We're used to the candy of life. Well, at Founders Fire, we're not interested in any kind of candy. We're interested in the difficult. We're interested in the heavy. We're interested in the stuff you're not going to get the first time. Give me the 3 easy steps. And now I grew up as a Baptist. Some of you guys know this. And so I'm used to the 3 S's of this thing and the 4 P's of that and the 10 R's of this and all the little alliterations and easy ways to remember stuff. That's okay if you're a kid, but we don't need the easy way. We need the way that builds power. I was thinking about this recently. I'll share this with you guys as we conclude here. Think about King David, David and Goliath David. Okay. It's very interesting to think about the fact that he brought 5 stones. Why 5? Where's his faith? The reality is that when we're making decisions, we need to face an understanding that it's not always going to work on our first try. Now, again, according to the story, it seemed like it did work on his first try, or at least he knocked him out on his first try. And then he finished him off with the sword, right? So he wasn't quite done. But why have five? I mean, where's his faith? This great man of God, where's his faith? I'll tell you where his faith is in. His faith was in his training as well as what he believed. He believed that this Philistine was an abomination before God, and he believed all the right stuff. But he also trained. Because I guarantee you, everyone else out there believed what he believed too. They just weren't doing anything. And this big dude's mocking everybody, and you can see him going back and forth, all the insults. And if you've been in the military, that those get pretty spicy. So you know what he was saying. I know what he was saying. And David walks up and is like, "What are you guys doing? What the heck?" And then he's going to get all this armor on, and you guys all know the story. And he's like, "No, no, no. I got to go the way I trained." Okay, what happens to King David in that situation with belief but no training? He gets murdered. That's what happens. He gets murdered by a guy who's been training his whole life. And this is crucial, guys. It does matter what we believe. But if we don't train, nothing changes. Training is about changing. It's about changing our ability. It's about changing our mentality. It's about changing our capability. Now, decision making is probably one of the key abilities we've got to bring into battle. And if we start to understand how we make decisions, you can compare it very much to the David Goliath story, because the root word of decide is like homicide, suicide, and pesticide. What's happening in all three of those, you guys all know, something is dying. Right. You see, I don't have the focus and the intensity to decide to eliminate the alternatives if I'm McThinking all the time. So while the content you may be viewing on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or wherever may be the content itself might be good content, but the manner it's being delivered to you is training you. And you've got to really look out for that. I don't know, maybe limit yourself to an hour a day. Maybe put that dang phone down and actually pick up a physical book. Even writing on paper is now being shown to increase retention, 10x over typing it into your computer. The reality is that technology, while it may make things faster, does not always make things better. And we have to consciously choose how we're using our tools so our tools do not use us. Guys, that's a real key to decision making. It's understanding that decisions of weight take focus and concentration. But if you're training yourself away from focus and concentration, then when you have to make that decision, what do? You distract yourself. You go to something else. You move on in some way. And then that thing just sits there. I do it. You do it. We all do it. Okay. How do we get out of that stuckness? It's by starting to train. And that's what these 15 minutes are for. Looks like we got about a minute left, is to give you guys some training to go deep, get you a little bit sweaty, so that in this next week, you've got something to work out on. And I hope that today has been useful for you guys. So bless you guys. Love seeing you guys here each week. We'll see you next week, and have a good one.